Hi, everyone. Let's just wait a couple of minutes for the attendees to join. So welcome to one more session of Let's Talk Regulation. My name is Celia Cruz and I'm today's host. I'm also a volunteer member of EIT Health Alumni Board as regional coordinator of InnoStar South. And professionally, I'm also the head of regulatory affairs at Compliant. I would like to briefly introduce you to EIT Health alumni. We are a community of health innovators with more than 2,000 members, and our goal is to connect enthusiastic alumni, to supporting them with training, supporting them with hiring, offering job opportunities, among others. So if you have participated in an EIT Health or EIT Health alumni activity like this one, or and you would like to join, you can go to alumni.eithealth.eu and register. I'll later on write these details on the chat box. As digital housekeeping, feel free to ask questions throughout the chat box below, and we'll get back to you either throughout the session if it's something relevant to that specific moment, or by the end of the session. We will have the recording will be available. It will be then uploaded to YouTube. And as digital housekeeping, that's this. To start our talk, I'm really happy to introduce you to our guests today, Sebastian Cornelius Retter and Julia Kleinschmidt. So Sebastian is a specialist lawyer with many years of experience in medical law and insurance law. Is also a salaried partner at Mazars in Germany. Julia is a senior associate also at Mazars. She also has many years of experience in medical law, focusing on medical devices, reimbursement, and healthcare regulatory. So thank you very much for joining us today. Sebastian and Julia, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you, Celia and the EIT Health team for introducing us to this webinar session and for having us here. We are very happy to give you a brief introduction into the German reimbursement system of medical devices, especially in the field of digital medical devices. That is quite attractive, fortunately, for companies all around the world to come to the German market. And today, our idea is to give you an introduction and an overview about the regulatories. So this is the agenda for today. We will give you a general introduction into the German healthcare system and the general introduction into the German reimbursement system. Julia will be in the lead of that part. Also, then the third part, that's the main part of our webinar today, the reimbursement of medical devices in those categories that you see on the board, and we will go into detail. And in the last part will be the Q&A part, but as Celia has already mentioned, please feel free to type your questions or comments that you have on the run into the chat box, and we will surely have then time to interact and to answer and to have a short discussion about this on the run. Thank you very much for introducing us, Celia. There's not much more to say to us. Just on this slide to add the comment that you have the contact details, and you will of course get the slides afterwards. So if you have any questions or comments afterwards, feel free to contact Julia and me after the session. So just 2 words about Mazars. We are a worldwide audit, tax, and legal consulting company in almost every market's represented. Julia and myself, we are located in Berlin. In Germany, we have quite a couple of offices, and we focus on specific branches. And one of our main target branch is the healthcare sector, not only in legal advice, that's our field. Our team is in the medical device law, especially when it comes to digital services, and we deal with compliance, reimbursement, and regulatories in general. About digital health, telemedicine, digital medical devices, and in vitro diagnostics. Our broader team is also involved in a couple of transactions in the healthcare sector. So we have an M&A and transaction section in our legal team. And of course, the tax and auditors are also dealing in the, or also consulting in the healthcare sector, to make it short. This leads us to the, because I'm a bit in a rush because our slides are, and our program is quite packed. If you have any more questions about Mazars in general and us in particular, feel free to send us an email or contact us anywhere you can do this. And I just want to hand over to Julia with the first section, an introduction into the healthcare system in Germany. To have an understanding of the healthcare system is quite necessary to have a particular, to can achieve an understanding about the reimbursement system in particular. So stage is yours, Julia. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian, for the introduction. So yeah, we will start with a very brief German healthcare system overview before we will then do a deep dive into some reimbursement options that we consider will be very suitable for your products. So one thing you have to know about the German healthcare system, there is a dual healthcare system which exists in a lot of countries, as far as I know. So German health insurance system is, the German health insurance is mandatory for all German citizens. And you have to know that about 90% of the people here in Germany are insured in the so-called statutory health insurance, so the SHI. So so basically, when you want to place a product on the market, that's where you should finally achieve to get into the statutory health insurance reimbursement system, because of the huge number of citizens insured there. And on the other hand, there is a private health insurance, of course, like it's called the PH1 here on our slides. But there are only about 10% of the people that are insured. So these are the basic principles of the, what happened? I didn't push a button. Yeah, okay. So there are fundamental structural principles for the SHIs. And at first, there is a solidarity principle. I will follow the order of the buckets there. So that ensures that everybody receives benefits from SHY, which are medically necessary. So that's a huge difference from the American system of the United States, for instance. And then I'd like to point out the benefit in kind principle, which means that the insured person won't have to pay for the medical services. He just goes to a doctor if he has a problem, or a hospital, and because he is a member of an SHY, he will get reimbursed indirectly. He gets the services, and the physician or the hospital gets the money for the medical services they have done. So yeah, so and the other two principles are not very important here, just to understand that there is the benefit in kind principle. So here's a short overview. I know this slide is very full of information. I don't know, my screen is jumping automatically to the next screen. Yeah, so here are the main stakeholders you have to know about, not in detail, but just to know there are a lot of stakeholders. Of course, there are the health insurance companies that manage the membership fees and pay for the services. On the left, payers. So there are a lot of sickness funds in Germany. I outlined the most important and the biggest ones. And then you have 4 big decision-making institutions like the Federal Ministry of Health, the Federal Joint Committee, and the National Associations of Statutory Health Insurance Physicians and the National Association of Statutory Health Insurance Funds. They basically decide on which services will be reimbursed in the German healthcare system. And if you have a new service that is not foreseen so far, you have to go through a whole process in order to get reimbursed. Yeah, so you don't have to know all the stakeholders there in detail, just to what you have to remember, that it is important to note that unlike in some other countries, there is not just one point of contact when it comes to reimbursement. Yeah. So now we will come to a short overview of the German reimbursement system. A decisive factor for the reimbursement of a medical device is whether it will be used in a hospital, so inpatient, or ambulatory, so outpatient. And we have 2 opposite principles there. When it comes to the inpatient sector, so on the left side, you have to keep in mind that new medical services are immediately reimbursed without prior assessment, as long as it has a lot of quality, the service, and the cost effectiveness is guaranteed. But there is a so-called reservation of prohibition. So if it's not forbidden, the medical service, it can be affected and can be reimbursed. On the other hand, when it comes to the outpatient sector, we have a so-called authorization right, so a prohibition with the right to permit, which means if you want to get reimbursed in the outpatient sector, you first have to be admitted to be reimbursed. Yeah, so that is a lot. That's a huge difference, which I want you to keep in mind. And then, in order to identify who will pay for your product and your services and who will use your product, you have to distinguish between who applies your product. So if it depends whether your product is used only by the patient at home or on the fly, if you have a device that is just used by hospitals or rehabilitation clinics, so inpatient setting, or if you have an outpatient service like a general practitioner will use your device, or other care providers. But that is a distinction you have to do at the beginning in order to see in which category of reimbursement you can fall in. So just a short overview when it comes to the reimbursement of outpatient services. There you have, as I already said, distinguish between the use by a healthcare professional or the use by a patient. And there you can see some of the options that could suit your product. So when it's used by the patient, your product, when it's a digital product, could be a reimbursable digital health application or a reimbursable digital care application if you fulfill all the requirements. Or another option could be an assistive device or medical aid, as we call it in the presentation on the other slides. We will do a deep dive later on these 3 options. When it's used by the healthcare professional, there are some other reimbursement methods. We can see here if your device is used by a physician in his practice. You have to keep in mind that this is the service of the physician then, and so he will get reimbursed by his association of statutory health insurance, which every physician is member of, and then he would get the reimbursement, the fee that is foreseen in the uniform evaluation scale. If the patient is a member of a private health insurance or if there is not a fee foreseen for the service in the uniform evaluation scale, then he will have to invoice the services to the patient himself according to the medical fee schedule. Yeah. And then another short overview for when it comes to the inpatient care. There, in the hospital, the billing is based on so-called DRG flat rates, so diagnosis-related groups. And this means depending on the diagnosis, the length of the stay, the services that are performed, the hospital can bill a certain DRG flat rate. And so this is a flat rate, which means that all services are covered and there is no extra money for the use of a new medical device. Yeah. Of course, there are some methods. If your procedure or your service is not yet represented adequately in the DRGs or in an operating procedure, you can demand not you as a manufacturer, but the stakeholders can demand to adapt a new DRG in order to really reimburse the value of the new service, the new medical device. So these are the options, but you have to keep in mind that these procedures are kind of long and you have to do kind of lobbying to the stakeholders that are they have the right to change the DRG catalog. Yeah. So this is that was a short overview. So we know that there are 90% that are insured in the statutory health insurance system, and it really depends on whether your device is used inpatient or in outpatient setting. And we will now, because when we saw the list of the participants of this lecture, this webinar, we decided for 4 reimbursement options that we think will suit your product the best. And at first, we'd like to present to you the reimbursement of a medical device as a so-called medical aid. In German, we call it Hilfsmittel, according to Section 33, Fifth Social Code. And so this is when the patient uses a device at home. Yeah, that's very simple. The patient goes to the doctor, has a problem, and then the physician will prescribe the medical aid. And then the patient with his prescription goes to a medical supply store or a pharmacy and will get his device, which he can then use at home. But you have to know, in order to be prescribed by a physician, you have to be listed in a so-called medical aid register, Hilfsmittelverzeichnis in German. And as a manufacturer of a medical device, so it's mandatory, it's mandatory, not legally mandatory, but in real life, it's mandatory to be listed in this medical device, in this medical aid register. And in order to get listed, you have to apply for listing at the one of the stakeholders, the GKV Spitzenverband, which you see in red there. And you have to apply and say, I want with my device to get listed in the medical system, in the medical aid register. And in order to get listed, you have to fulfill some requirements. First of all, the medical aid has to fulfill one of the three options which are in bold on the top. So your medical device should ensure the success of medical treatment, or prevent a threatened disability, or compensate for a disability. And if this is the case, you can apply. And there's a register with a lot of groups of products, depending on what it's used for, which area of the body. And you have to prove basically 4 big requirements. You have to prove the functional capability and the safety. This is kind of easy if you have a medical device. When you show your CE marking, this is sufficient in order to prove these 2 requirements. Then, of course, there will be some quality requirements for the device himself. If this is a new device which is not listed in the register yet, the GKV Spitzenverband will set up new requirements. And then the most important requirement you have to fulfill, and the most, let's say, complicated, is that you have to prove the medical benefit of your device. And therefore, you will need to provide clinical studies where you prove that your device has the medical benefit you claim. This whole procedure will take, from our experience, it depends, but about 6 to 9 months. So it's feasible, it's not too long, and from our experience, the communication with the GKV Spitzenverband is very, very kind, very positive, and they are open to discussion. And once the device has been listed successfully, the health insurance funds have then, of course, to ensure the supply of the medical aid to their insured. And therefore, the manufacturer, so here in the middle, will conclude supply contracts with the health insurance companies or health insurance company associations. And on the basis of these contracts, the product will be supplied by authorized dealers as a medical supply store or a pharmacy. And the authorized distributors will then also be obliged to instruct the patients how to use the product. They will maintain the product, etc. And there's a second possibility. If you want to supply your product directly as a healthcare provider, you have to join the existing contracts, or there will be new contracts. It depends on whether there are already existing contracts. And another requirement is that you have to get pre-qualified. The pre-qualification procedure is an examination of the suitability of a service as a service provider. And there are defined criteria. You have to prove some personal requirements, some requirements when it comes to your premises and everything. And once you pre-qualified successfully, you can, as a manufacturer, directly supply the product to the patients. So that was the first option, being reimbursed as a medical aid. And I will now hand over to Sebastian for the second category of reimbursement.
Thank you very much, Julia, for this introduction into the German healthcare system, into the German reimbursement system, and into the first section of reimbursement of medical devices as a medical aid. And this leads into the second option, as maybe a couple of you are waiting for, especially for the digital healthcare application. But before I go into detail, I just want you to keep in mind that there's all the options we are presenting you, and we will have a case study at the end, can be gone through in parallel. So that means that there's not an exclusive way of reimbursement. If your device or service fits into several categories, you can also apply for those categories in parallel or one after the other, and then get the reimbursement out of different funds. That's very important to keep that in mind, and that's also a main part of our work, to find of our consulting with our clients together, to find a reimbursement strategy of their device. Maybe sometimes the device has to be adopted to a kind of a reimbursement section, or we will find other solutions to make it appropriate. So that's what I want you to keep in mind before I go into detail into the digital healthcare application. Reimbursement, section 33A, the figure 33A already shows that this is a subcategory of the Hilfsmittel of the medical aid register, but it's quite new, and it was like a game changer. And I think Germany was one of the first European countries that has implemented Digital Healthcare Act that reimburses digital health applications in the statutory health insurance system. We call it apps on prescription, but it's not only apps in the App Store. It can be all kind of digital solutions that are in the hand of the patients. It's a patient-centered remuneration system. So what are the main requirements? There's a huge list of requirements, and to go through all this is one of the other of our main work with our clients together, to fulfill all the criteria in detail. But we will give you an overview about what is required to get into the special register of digital healthcare applications. In German, it's called digitale Gesundheitsanwendungen. That's why the abbreviation is here written as DiGA, digital healthcare applications. First of all, your device or your application has to be a medical device, class of a low risk class 1 or class 2A according to MDR. You need the certification or oh, now our screen has dropped. Okay. So you need to go through the conformity assessment and the CE mark for your device. For a class 1 device, you don't need a notified body, so the conformity process is a bit shorter and easier and faster and more affordable. But as we will see on the next pages, most of the digital devices, most of software will be class 2 or higher. So medical device class 1 or 2A, low risk class according to MDR. The second functionality, it's self-explaining. The main function is essentially based on digital technology. So your main function of your device, because the functionality of your system can also include other services like physician services, coaches, etc., that are analog. They can be included in your holistic system, but the main functionality must be digital. And then you need a health-related purpose that is also self-explaining because it relates to the medical device purpose. It's kind of detection, monitoring, treatment, or alleviation of disease or compensation for injury or disability. And last but not least, the device, the system, the app must be patient-centered. So the main functionality must be in the hand of the patient. The physician can also be included. The physician can also be part of the healthcare service, but the main functionality must be in the hand of the patient to understand his or her treatment better, for example. Yeah, so as I've already mentioned, if you go through the conformity process as a medical device, if you are class 1, you don't need a notified body. If you are class 2A or higher, you will need a notified body. And this is in a lot of cases a critical point, that as software, according to the medical device regulation, most of the software, to cut it short, will be class 2A or higher. So there's only a few software, like pure training software, that doesn't have a diagnosis or gives a treatment itself, can be classified as class 1 device. All the others are class 2 or higher, and we keep in mind that as a digital health application, according to the section 32A SGB5, you are the device also must not be higher than 2A. So it has to be 1 or 2A, the lower risk classes. That's also very important to keep in mind. So this is the current register of medical digital healthcare applications in the register that are listed already. So since 2019, late 2019, as the law was implemented, we have now, I say, only 25 digital healthcare applications listed yet. There's quite a higher number of applications, but not all of them have made it through because they couldn't fulfill the criteria. So we see a bottleneck, especially when it comes to clinical evidence. This is apart from other criteria like interoperability, for example, decisive point. And we also see right now, but it's only 25 yet, that there's mental health is right now the category where the most of them are listed, but we will see in the future how this register will change itself, and we will have new systems of new products, of course, also in other categories. But right now, mental health apps are quite common in the register. The application from the manufacturer has to be filed at the Federal Institute for Drugs and Medical Devices, and the product must fulfill general and special kind of requirements. You must prove a safety and suitability for use. You must fulfill the data protection and data security, and interoperability and quality requirements. And the special requirements will be the positive healthcare effects I will talk about in the next slides. And then if you fulfill all these criteria, you will get the approval within 3 months after you have filed your complete application. And then you are listed and ready for reimbursement, as you will see in the next slides. So one of the main focus, and that's what you have to prove with clinical evidence, is the so-called positive healthcare effects with your system, with your application, with your software. So this can consist of, on the one hand, the medical benefit, as you have already gone through an assessment within your conformity assessment to achieve the CE mark. And or so-called patient-relevant structural and procedural improvements. So you can select if your system fulfills one or several of those criteria. If you apply with several criteria, let's say with 3 of them, you also have to prove all the 3. If you only prove 2 of them, the application will be refused. As the medical benefit is defined as the improvement of the state of health, the shortening of the duration of illness, the prolongation of survival, or an improvement in the quality of life, you will have to go through a clinical study with a relevant number of patients to go through the studies, either to prove the medical benefit or the patient relevant structural and procedural improvements have to be officially registered and listed with an independent consultancy that guides you through the study concept and so on. On the right-hand side, to prove the patient-relevant structural and procedural improvements, there is a list of criteria that you can fulfill, like I don't read now all of them, but as you can see, coordination of treatment procedures, alignment on treatment, adherence, that's quite a common criteria, patient safety, health literacy, also patient sovereignty. So you see the patient-centered part of the app is the main functionality the system wants, or that you have to show that you can get registered. So you can go through a trial phase with your product. We call it the fast track to get into the system. So it's either you fulfill the criteria at the point of application already, then you can apply for full registration, or you can apply for application of approval. That means you apply with a basic data and with an evaluation concept that you will show, or you will prove your positive healthcare effects within the first 12 months of listing. So that means you can get into the system without full evidence, but you have to prove the evidence within the first 12 months of registration. If you cannot prove it, you will get outlisted again. Within the 12 months of listing, either if you have the full application or you have the application of approval, the 12 months you can set a free pricing for your product and services. And after the 12 months, there will be a negotiation period, or within this 12 months, it already starts, to be honest, the negotiation with the umbrella organization of the statutory health insurance to negotiate on a fair price for your devices, for your service. And the 12 months of free pricing means in general free pricing, so there's no concrete limit. And we see already that some of the manufacturers that are already listed have put a quite high price on their products that we believe was not in all cases very clever, because they will be reduced, and it also has in some ways also a bit of a negative impact into others, newcomers that will be listed. But that's just a quite comment on that, just for you to for a general overview. The first 12 months will be free pricing. We are waiting for an ordinance of price levels, but this is still under discussion and not published yet. So this is once again the application for final or preliminary listing in the DIGA directory. On this slide, you can have you have a summary of both ways. So as I've already mentioned, after your application, you have a 3 months period of approval. After that approval, if you get the approval, you will have a 12 months period of the manufacturer's price, free pricing. And within these 12 months, you already run your, on the one hand, you run your clinical study to fulfill to prove your clinical evidence for your positive healthcare effects if you have approved for if you have applied for approval, and within the same time, if you have applied for full already, you go into the price negotiations, and then after the 12th month or the 13th month of listing, you will get the negotiated price that you have negotiated with the umbrella organization of the statutory health insurance. So this is an overview about this system. And this once again, this is an overview about the price negotiations. There will be 3 negotiations that are mandatory. Of course, if you can get an agreement after the first negotiation, then that's fine. But mostly you will have several negotiations. 3 will be the maximum, of optional a 4th date. If you don't agree on that, then there will be also like a court that at the end of the day will fix the price. What is the negotiated price consisting of? It's based on the positive healthcare effects. It's in relation to other market participants and to prices in also other European countries. It's a mix of all arguments that are together, and at the end of the day, you negotiate a price. And if you don't come to a conclusion with the umbrella organization, as I've already said, there will be a final decision of the court. The results of the trial phase, the evidence of positive healthcare effects, and other price relevant documents like studies after inclusion in the DIGA director will create the arguments for you in the price negotiations. How does the digital health application, when you are listed, will be provided to the patient? That's also quite easy, as Julia has already mentioned, the benefit in kind system. The injured person, the patient, will see the doctor. The doctor will explain that for this kind of problem, disease, sickness the patient has, there's an app to help. So we will write a prescription. With the prescription, the injured person will get an unlock code from his or her health insurance, and with this unlock code, after the download in the App Store, and the injured person can activate the digital health application and use it him or herself. And the manufacturer will then get, after a code validation process, the remuneration directly from the health insurance. So this was the second part, and the third part is about the digital care application. That's like, let's call it the little sister of the digital healthcare application. Julia will talk about in the next section.
Yeah. So if you have listened to what Sebastian said about the digital care application, digital health application, we will see that there are a lot of similarities in the following process. Just to let you know, so the DIGA was started last year. And in the last year, the German government decided to introduce the German, the so-called digital care applications as a new reimbursement option. And we are still at the beginning of the process. So we have the legal framework that we know that there will be a reimbursement of digital care applications, but it hasn't started yet because we are currently waiting for a long legal ordinance, which will include a lot of concretization when it comes to the reimbursement process and the requirements that have to be fulfilled by the digital care application manufacturer. We are hopefully expecting the legal ordinance beginning next year. You know that in Germany we are currently in the shifting the government, and we were hoping for it now in autumn or winter, but it will be next year, unfortunately. But nevertheless, we want already to present you what you could expect next year. That is what we expect, the timeline. Maybe we have the legal ordinance beginning next year, and then in April, best case, there can be the first applications of the manufacturers, and in beginning of the second half of 2022, the first DPAS, digital care application. In German, we say digitale Pflegeanwendung, so that's the abbreviation, can be reimbursed. Worst case, I think we will start next year, definitely. Maybe not in July, but in September or whatever. So it won't take too much time. So first, when we refer to the last slide of Sebastian, when it comes to the DIGA, we have here the process of the DIPA. There's just one little difference, actually. The DIPA won't be prescribed by a physician. So the person in need of care will have to request at his long-term care insurance for getting a DIPA, and then he get an unlock code, and it's the same process. Now I'd like to present you the requirements that have to be fulfilled by the DIPA that we already know. First of all, you need an application or a web-based application, and there's a huge difference because the DIPA doesn't have to be a medical device in comparison to the DIGA. The medical device requirement is not mandatory. Of course, you can be a medical device. That is not not a problem, but it's not mandatory. And then the requirement, of course, is the same as for the DIGA, that the main function has to be based on digital technologies. It's all about digitization in Germany currently. And the DIPA has to be used by the person in need of care, so the care recipients, or in the interaction of care, relatives. We know that there are a lot of relatives that take care of their beloved ones at home, and everybody knows that a lot of people want to stay at home as long as they can when they get older. Or another option is that it's an application that is used also by the person in need of care and an approved outpatient care facility. So that's where the DIPA will be used. And the DIPA has to fulfill a care-related purpose, of course. So the law says that the DIPA has to reduce impairments to the independence, or the reduce impairments to the abilities of the person in need of care, or counteract a worsening of the need for care. So that's the purposes the DIPA has to fulfill. And just to make clear, we are currently talking about DIPA only when it comes to use at home. If a DIPA is used in a stationary setting, that it's not reimbursed as a DIPA at the moment. We don't know if that will change, but for the moment, it's only for home use. Yeah. So now we know just a little about the DIPA and what a DIPA could be. So we have the explanatory memorandum and a press release, and there we know that applications for the organization and management of everyday nursing care could be a DIGA. That's officially said. That products for coping with special care situations, for example, in the area of maintaining mobility or in the case of dementia, can be a DIPA. So there are some examples. The press release from the Federal Health Institute says that the applications to stabilize or improve one's own state of health through exercises, for instance, fall risk prevention or personalized memory games for people with dementia, could also be a DIPA, or even communication tools that improve the communication with relatives and nursing staff are possible and will fall within the category of DIPA. So as I said, we know little for the moment. What we already know that the German Federal Health Institute, of course, wants to eliminate the reimbursement of only smart home technologies and lifestyle products. That there will be a line that will be drawn, by some criteria that will be set up by the legal ordinance. But we thought about some possible products, maybe that could be a DIPA. So where we have the digital application to improve physical and cognitive abilities, like mobility programs, or maybe we were wondering if a digital reminder for food or drink could be a DIPA. We don't know yet, but this is possible. But of course, just to summarize the slide, if you are just a smart home technology, you won't get reimbursed. So when it comes to reimbursement, this is quite similar to what Sebastian presented to you. You have one more time to apply for being listed in the DIPA register. Once again at the Federal Institute for Medicines and Drugs. And the institute will advise and examine your product, will give you some advice, and you have to prove two big categories. On the one hand, there are the general requirements like security, functional capability, quality requirements, data protection and data security, of course. And on the second hand, and that's the most important, you have to prove the nursing benefit of your application. And there, one more time, the whole procedure will take about 3 months. And after 3 months, you get the yes or no, you will be listed, or no, not yet. So here one more time, these are the requirements you have to fulfill. And the most important thing is the nursing benefit you have to prove by evidence. We think there will be the requirement for clinical studies too. We don't know yet, but this is something you should focus on when it comes to the application. And this is a slide you have to know. We are kind of looking into the glass ball. We don't know what will be said next year in the legal ordinance, but we had a look at the social code and the wording they used in the legal text, where they talk about the independence and abilities of the person, and we think that the six points that are in bold at the bottom and surrounded by the red circle would be fields of where you can prove your nursing benefit. If your device increases the mobility, increases cognitive and communication skills, behavioral and psychological problems, self-sufficiency, all points that enable the person to stay at home as long as they can, then there will be a nursing benefit of the device. But one more time, just to be clear, this is not certain yet, okay? And here's the period that is already official. That is what we know. There is a kind of same procedure as for the DIGA. Just one hint, and this is very important. Sebastian mentioned the trial phase. When it comes to the DIGA, this is not an option here at the DIPA. So this means when you apply for being listed in the DIPA register, you have to fully prove the nursing benefit of your device from the beginning. This is not possible. There will no be provisional listing and the 1 year period where you can prove your nursing benefit. This is I saw the explanatory memorandum, and it's basically in order to protect the person in need of care, because he has to pay. I will show you that later. For the DIPA a little bit at least. Yeah. And so this is not possible. So then when you get listed after 3 months, there will be straight on a price negotiation period. Here again, a little difference. There's no free pricing within the first year. So there will price negotiations right from the beginning. Yeah. So yeah, there will be a price agreed on between the DIPA manufacturer, the long-term insurance fund, and the BAGUS, which is a special organization. Yeah, and so then you have the pricing, and there's one surprising point, especially when you compare it to the DIPA, where you have free pricing in the first year and huge prices that are at the moment there for applications like up to 700 euro per quarter. And yeah, there is one thing you have to know. The DIPA will be reimbursed only with 50 euro per month by the health insurance, and even one step further, this 50 euro will be divided between the DIPA manufacturer, so you basically, and the outpatient care facility, if this is an application that is used by the patient and the outpatient care facility. Because of course the outpatient care facility will have personal costs and material costs, and has to be reimbursed for this services too. Yeah, and everything that is higher than 50 euro per month will be paid by the patient, by the insured person directly. Yeah, so that is important to know. So when it comes to the pricing strategy and the marketing, that's something you have to keep in mind. Yeah. So
yeah, thank you very much. Sorry for interrupting, but when I look at the time, I see that we are a bit behind our schedule, but that doesn't matter. I think that was very important that you give us the overview about the digital nursing application. That's quite new, and it will take some time until it's in effect in reality, and we will have the first products listed. As I've mentioned before, there's no exclusive way of reimbursement. There are also other options apart from official registers, etc. You can also contract direct with statutory health insurances, and this is still a very appropriate way to get fast into the system without the proof of all the criteria, especially the proof of the clinical evidence that you have to show when you want to be registered in the official registers. So I just want to point out, and that's all I want to say to these slides, that there's also other ways like direct contracting with statutory health insurance, as we have mentioned, the biggest ones on that slide, but there are about 100 of private, 102, I think right now, statutory health insurers in Germany. So that's always, that's also a very appropriate option for reimbursement. In parallel, you can prepare your other remuneration, your other reimbursement pathways like DIGA application, DIPA application, medical aid application, etc. So the next slide is just to how to create this this contract, so you can go through by yourself. So then I also want to point out, this is not a direct reimbursement of medical device, but an indirect funding through the Hospital Future Act that was implemented last year. And it's like we are so we work very detailed on that field together with hospitals, clinics that are applying for funds for digital health applications, for digital solutions to support their hospital services. And for this digitization, or Hospital Future Act, as it's called, the German government provides 4.3 billion euros within the next years. That's like a booster in the digitization. And you have to, if you want to take part in that process, you have to fulfill special criteria that are set in ordinances, etc., guidelines that have to be evaluated, and you can, you have to prove that you you fulfill the so-called must criteria to get into the funding, or the hospital can get the funding when the hospital is using your system. So just to keep in mind, that's also very important if you want to go to the German market, especially in the inpatient sector, to fulfill the criteria of the Hospital Future Act. Just to have that you have heard this already at once. So in the last part of our webinar would or should be, and we just cut it very short, a case study to show you once again the separate ways of reimbursement. And I just give you just general information about what we have thought to introduce to you. It's a game. It's a game for elderly people, especially a console, game console, as we know, the kind of PlayStation, but without, you don't have any how do you call
Joysticks?
it, joystick or handle. You use your body to train or to play, and the game integrates various therapeutic, preventive, rehabilitative, effective elements that have been developed from findings in geriatrics, neuropsychology, as well as physiotherapy and music therapy. The memory box, as it's called, can reduce the effects of age-related illnesses such as dementia and Parkinson, reduce the risk of falls, and promote inclusion in retirement homes through joint activities. So a widespread use of that games. We have different functionalities if they are listed here on this slide, and some of them are medical devices. This is the ones with the bullets MD, and the others are for prevention or mobility. They are not, these functionalities are not medical devices. So the system is already certified as a medical device and has different functionalities as they are stated here. And with these different functionalities, this system can fit into several categories of reimbursement. First of all, the system can be in the hand of the patient, him or herself. It can be in the possession of the nursing home that provides the system to their people that are living there, and it can be in the possession of a rehab facility. And I don't go through all those slides. According to the use of the system in the patient hands or in the hand of the nursing home or in the possession of the rehab facility, etc., we will have several pathways of reimbursement that are shown on this slide, just to give you an overview from left to right, but there's no specific order. It can be a digital health application when it comes to reduce of dementia, etc. It can be an aid if it comes to like prevent the progress of your sickness. It can be a rehabilitation application that can be reimbursed through a special paragraph. And it can be a prevention, I call prevention application or prevention tool for home use that is not necessary or mandatory medical device. And it can be, as Julia has presented, a digital care application, DIPA. We can, of course, with all these applications or devices, conduct selective contracts with the statutory health insurers direct. And there's also another like reimbursement fund that can be used for prevention care applications in statutory nursing homes. So, and our manufacturer that who is producing and the memory box has applied or gets funds from all of those funds. So just to give you an image that with one product that has several functionalities, you can be connected or you can get money from different funds in the system. That was or is important from us for you to show that it's very important to create reimbursement strategy for your product. Yeah, so finally we come to the Q&A session. So it's around 7:10. We are quite punctual. So if you have any open questions or comments, please feel free to write them in the chat now. Otherwise, if there are no more further questions from you or from you, Julia, to me, or from me to you, we will, or from Celia and the EIT team, maybe, we will close the webinar. And as we have mentioned already, of course, you can contact us anytime. Afterwards, you will have you will receive the slides and also the recorded version of the webinar.
I see that there are some questions popping up. That's great. There's a.
Go ahead, Julia.
Sorry?
Go ahead, Julia. There are some questions on the chat. So
Okay, so there's one question I see at first. So the question is, what is the way ahead for DGAs that failed approval after the 12-month period? That is a good question.
Yeah, thank you. So you have this 12-month period, and you can extend this 12-month period to a maximum of 24 months. If you have a good reason for that. So you have to file a new application for extension, and if you get a positive response that maybe your clinical trial has not moved on as you have expected because maybe of unexpected reasons, maybe because of the pandemic or so on, you could not include as many as you have as you have applied at the beginning, or your study concept, or as are included in your study concept, you can extend that period up to maximum 24 months. But after these 24 months, if you have then still not prove the evidence of your product, either medical benefit or positive structural effects on patients, you will be outlisted again, and the reimbursement stops. You don't have to pay back what you have received, but the reimbursement stops. You will be outlisted then.
Mm-hmm. So there's a second question. Thank you, Sebastian. When it comes to applying to several reimbursement strategies, is it possible to use the same clinical data?
Yes. So this is very common. For example, if you run a selective contract with a statutory health insurance, often within the running time of that contract, you conduct a clinical study. Mm-hmm. And the outcome of your clinical study can be used then for other applications in the reimbursement sections, if they fit into, if, for example, if it's about the medical benefit of your product, and then your medical benefit is proven in this clinical study, you can use this clinical study also for others, for other applications. It leads me to one further comment. If you have run a clinical study abroad, you have to prove that the clinical study that you run maybe in Italy or Spain is similar, or the population is similar than in Germany. So the German healthcare system wants you to run the study in Germany. There's a possibility to create similarity, equality, but you have to prove this with another, like with a medical writing,
comparative medical writing. Yeah, so this was another question, though. Thank you.
We had even that question. We had exactly on the chat before.
On the chat, yeah.
If it was mandatory to do clinical trials in German hospitals, yeah, or other hospitals, or Germany would allow other countries. So yeah, we have also another question. Meanwhile, is it the company deciding whether or not to have inpatient outpatient focus, or is it institutions that review the reimbursement application?
Is a clear answer. It's you, because you will give your device, your service, the intended use, and with this intended use, you focus on, if you decide whether it's in the hand, that the user is the patient or the physician, inpatient or outpatient. Of course, there can be devices that can be used inpatient and outpatient, and maybe also in the hand of the patient and also in the hand of a physician. Then you can apply for different pathways with this, like, selected intended use. But the clear answer is you give your device and your system the intended use, how it's being used, and from whom it's being used.
So we have already another question, because we had some questions from before in the registration, but maybe we can go for these questions first. Mm-hmm. We have an agnostic platform to do blood-based tests to diagnose Alzheimer's, for example, or to prognosticate the evolution of COVID-19 symptoms. Which reimbursement pathways should we follow? I mean, this is quite specific, but
so as I would understand your product as in the hand of the physician in possibly outpatient scenario, maybe also in an inpatient scenario. In an outpatient scenario, we need to have a look at the figures in the ABM code that gives the reimbursement for the physicians. So which figures can be used to reimburse the services the physicians provide with the use of your system, because the system, your system for the physician, for the clinics, will be in like investment costs. They have to pay directly to you, but they get indirect reimbursement with the services they provide on the patient.
And if the service your device provides is not in the uniform evaluation scale, so the reimbursement scale at the moment, there is the possibility to add a new number to this scale, but this is a longer process.
Yeah. One has to prove then that according to the guidelines, etc., and the clinical evidence, that you fulfill the criteria, and possibly it's a new examination and treatment method. You have to go through a longer process of evaluation at the joint committee, and after that approval, new figures in the code will be created. In other words, or to add this, if there are no figures yet, there's no reimbursement possibility in the statutory health insurance. There's no analog form of reimbursement possible.
Also,
so there's another question.
Just before passing to the other question, there was a question from the registration before. It was on similar to these, whether if it focused within IVDR instead of MDR, is there a reimbursement process if there's already a code, or how, or is it not possible to be reimbursed?
IVDR is like the MDR, the regulatory for the conformity process, but that does not mean that there's a reimbursement code.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reimbursement. So the question, if you get reimbursement from the system for the services that physicians provide with the use of your products, is if there's a code at the EBM.
Yeah, or if it is a device that is used by the patient, maybe like diabetes, blood measuring in the fingertip. There are some reimbursement options. But the IVDR part, as Sebastian said, is about the conformity of the product. Is it possible to put it on the market, the device, legally? And reimbursement is the second step.
And if it's used in an inpatient scenario, as I've already mentioned, if it's often these new products are part of a new examination or treatment method. In an inpatient scenario, the system or the product can be used and then also reimbursed through the DRG system, the diagnostic related group system, in an inpatient scenario without a special approval from an authority. But in an outpatient scenario, we need to get the approval first before a reimbursement is possible.
Perfect, thank you. So we have the other question. What if our procedure in an inpatient case is more expensive than the current rates?
In an inpatient case, you will get the fixed remuneration of the DRG. That means you are in competition with other systems that they are maybe more affordable, but also not so good. And maybe this is your advantage that you can show. And there might also be a possibility in an inpatient scenario of an extra payment that can be negotiated between a specific hospital and the authorities of remuneration. So this is a specific negotiation scenario. But then you have to first convince the hospital to use your product, and also to convince the hospital again to ask for further reimbursement, because your system is so good that it must be used, and there must be a special payment for this.
So
are there any reimbursement strategies for devices preventing infection? So the value created is difficult to directly quantify. If it comes to prevention, I want to point out one thing that I have not mentioned yet, that primary prevention is not included in the digital health application scenario. So if there's no indication yet of a sickness, then a digital health application, even though you have a medical device for prevention, cannot be registered. And is there a reimbursement strategy for devices preventing infections? There might be, or there is a scenario. There's a guideline of the statutory health of the umbrella organization of the statutory health insurances, that there are prevention applications can be certified. They will be not listed or registered in an official register, but they can be certified and then also reimbursed according to the section of prevention, primary prevention. You also have the full criteria of data security, interoperability, and also, of course, of evidence of your product, and then you can get the certification.
Okay, so let's see if we have some more last question, or if everyone is clarified.
Well, we know that there was a lot of information, and
Yeah.
of course we can't fully present the whole reimbursement system with all its specialties within 1.5 hours. So of course, if you have concrete questions for your product, the reimbursement options available, we should do a deep dive into your product, and then analyze the reimbursement pathways that are suitable. So yeah. But we hope that it was nevertheless useful to understand how the German reimbursement system works. Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. In 1.5 hours, it's really difficult, and you did an amazing job doing an overview of some of the possibilities of the reimbursement process in Germany. And thank you so much for that. No, as no more questions, we have reached the end of our sessions, also right in time. So first of all, Sebastian and Julia, thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and thank you so much for this presentation, and also answering these so many questions from our audience. Thank you also for the audience for being here, and also bringing several points of discussion to even better understand this scenario. Please take 1 minute for the participants just to answer our survey, as the having feedback is really important to us. Also, the link is on the chat. Also, if you're not member yet of our community, you can join the IT Health alumni community We also send these details there on the chat. As we have recorded this session, and we will share this presentation and the slides if Sebastian and Julia are okay with it, with everyone that has registered to this session. Also, if you're watching this later on and you won't have the slides, drop an email to alumni@eithealth.tu and we will be able to share the presentations. Thank you very much, everyone. We are really happy to have reached the end of one or more session of Let's Talk Regulation, and see you soon and around the block. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Celia. It was a pleasure, and hope to see you once again in a digital or in an analog format. And we are always open to receive any comments and questions. And maybe in the next session, we can have a deeper dive into the DIGA, into the DIPA, etc. If you want us to do so. So thank you very much and have a nice evening.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.